Welcome to another Train2Game radio production with Danny Palmer.
My name is Jason Vandenburg, and I'm the narrative director on Far Cry 3.
First of all, can you tell us what your role as narrative director actually involves?
Oh man, well, it involves the story, the characters, the setting, everything that has to do with the context. Basically, the reasons for the play, what the hell's going on here. All of that falls under narrative, and so my responsibility is to make sure that you believe in the story, you believe in the characters, that we've got great stuff to do, and that it all makes sense in the end. That's sort of the role.
So with such an open world, how do you even get that started?
Well, the most important thing to me is to start with a solid foundation of understanding that open world. You got to create a deep understanding in the team about the shape of your space. We're on this island. We're on this new island, right? We're kind of in the South Seas. And you got to look at the history of that, build that in so that each space has its own logic to it. You understand where the economy started and all of that stuff. And then what you got to do is you got to look for great characters, right? We are this time around with Far Cry 3, our focus is on making great characters come to life. Hopefully you saw Voss there in a demo, and hopefully you believed him as a person. That's my hope, and the goal of this project is I want you to walk away thinking, wow, that guy was intense, instead of, wow, that character or that boss was pretty cool, right? I'd rather you think about him as a real person, because if we do that, then we've crossed that uncanny valley and fooled you into believing he's a person. To do that takes a huge amount of work, right? And it's mostly about, nowadays, it's mostly about working with actors, learning to create a great performances, because the technology side, we got performance capture, motion capture, right? But if you don't get the acting right, if you don't give actors the space to work and to co-create your characters, you're in a lot of trouble before you even begin.
With so many different ways to complete missions, how do you go about fitting everything around it, depending on what players could do? Because one player could do something completely off the wall and insane.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, this kind of structure requires that you make your objectives things like you see in the mission. Get in the helicopter, right? The mission isn't kill 14 guys, sneak up on this guy, run across the bridge and then get in the helicopter. The mission is get in the helicopter. How you do that, that's entirely up to you, right? So if the mission is kill this guy, as long as that guy dies, that mission is going to be over, right? And so we put all of our story and our narrative stuff, all the structure, all those great moments at the beginning of the mission, right? So we sort of front load that, right? And then we open the mission up and let you do as you want to. And then when you come back around and you want to ask for another mission, then we've got a perfect opportunity to tell you more of the story. We're also going to embed the story kind of throughout the island, right? Kind of if you go exploration, because the other big thing that Far Cry has to offer is exploration, right? Is you want to go around this huge open world. Let's take advantage of it, right? So I want to make sure that around every corner is some new piece of information, some new detail that sort of fills in the blanks for you about this, what's going on this island.
You mentioned Voss. How do you go about creating a character such as him from the beginning?
You summon him from the deeps. So actually, it's an interesting question. The process is actually more complex now because we're shooting for this high level goal. Usually in the games industry, you think up, I want to have a tough guy, and then the concept artist draws a tough guy, and then you show the tough guy to your producers, and you're like, oh, good to go. You cast some dude, write a script, and then sort of say, okay, you're tough, go and stand there and do that. In that kind of process, you get these really cliched, flat characters. Instead of doing that, what we're doing is we're starting with a core idea, right, about a real person. We start with a real person as a reference, or several real people that we want to kind of bring together. We talk about that instead of their archetypes. And then we cast very, very carefully. We go and look for actors. Even before we're completely done with the script, we'll be looking for actors that are going to bring a character like what we have in mind out. In this case, we actually found this guy, Michael Mando. When we were casting for another character, we found this guy, and we're like, hey, my God, this guy's amazing. He really had this ability to become this guy. And so we co-create on the set, even just in motion capture. We start to talk to Michael about who this guy is, and then he starts talking to us about, well, I think he's going to be like this and this and this, and we co-create this character, right? And we get that fantastic capture through rehearsals and sort of letting give the actor their space. And then once we get that, put it in the engine, and then it's just polished from there on out. It's a lot of work, but the result, I think, speaks for itself.
And do you think this whole bringing in actors way of doing things is the future of the industry?
I certainly hope so. I would love to. In fact, what I'm trying to do with this game is raise the audience's expectations. I think we've been putting up with poor performances and poor writing for too long in the industry, right? And there's a lot of people who've kind of accepted that it's just a game. You don't need to have a good story, or you don't need to have good, believable characters. Why not? We should have good, believable, strong characters every time, and we have examples of that. There have been great characters in gaming. We should continue that. We should expect that, I believe now that the technology for performance capture is becoming more and more available, and we're learning more about it. I expect the quality bar to rise, and I hope you guys out there should be demanding better characters out of your games.
So what are the main improvements and additions in Far Cry 3 over the previous iterations in the series?
Yeah. So first of all, the characterization is this big deal, right? The narrative is a big focus for us, and adding the technology to have we have very high detail characters, right? High detail facial animation, and then we have these huge spaces, right? And these gorgeous settings and lots of enemy NPCs and player driven choice and all that, all in the same engine, running at the same time in real time. It's a real challenge. So we like to do things the hard way on the Far Cry team. So we're also we're taking that huge scale that's the Far Cry 2, that big space, and then we're adding density to that. We're gonna fill up every square kilometer with a bunch of cool stuff to see and do, right? Lots of activities to keep you occupied between the missions if you want to engage in that sort of thing, right? And then we're bringing the story, bringing the sort of the experience from Far Cry 2 was kind of about crazy governments and sort of crazy conflicts, right? We're kind of bringing that down to an individual level and focusing it on individual people. You're going to play this game as a guy named Jason Brody, and his story is a big part of what Far Cry 3 is about. His ship sunk, his girlfriend's lost in the wilderness, and he's found himself on this island full of people that haven't seen the rule of law or a stable government in decades, and so they've been allowed to go a little nuts. They've been set free, and that's not always a good thing for humanity.
You mentioned the tech. Has the entire engine been built from the ground up then?
No. So this is the Dunia engine. It's the same engine that won all those awards for Far Cry 2, right? We've been working on that engine since Far Cry 2 shipped. So it's a very solid tool set, and we've expanded it even further. And so we're pretty delighted with it. It's actually great to work on an engine that has already been through the ringer.
And finally, how did you get started in the games industry, and what advice would you give to those looking to get into it?
Well, I got started in the dawn before time, back when we did our computer programming with sticks and stones. I got started because I learned to program. My dad was a computer programmer, and I wanted to be in entertainment, so I studied film, because the idea that you could be paid as a game developer didn't exist when I was a kid. So I couldn't even conceive of that. I got in as a programmer on the X-Files game way back in the day, doing CD-ROM stuff and just programming, and just followed my passion, learned to work with teams, learned to work with people, right? And my recommendation to people who want to get into the industry is to focus on learning how it really works. Learn about technology, learn about creation, learn about writing, learn about characters, learn about play and human psychology, learn about whatever parts of that interests you, right? And then go finish something. Go really try to make something yourself, because in doing that, you're going to learn the skills that you need, right? But you're also going to prove to the world that you can finish it, and that's one of the most important things.
And when is Far Cry 3 going to be out? And tell us why we should buy it.
Well, it's 2012, so it'll be out next year sometime. We don't have more detail, more finer grain detail than that. But stay tuned for more accuracy on that one. And if you like, the thing I love about Far Cry is that name another open world first person shooter. There isn't any. It's pretty rare. So if you like choice and personal experience, sort of personal, your personal narrative, right, as a part of your play, right, Far Cry is a game for you, right? We're going to get you out of the corridor and out into the real world.
Great, thanks for your time, Jace.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Take care.
For more information, www.train2game.com.